A First Nation in Western Manitoba has made history by electing a female chief for the first time. It has been a whirlwind month for 25-year-old Tréchelle Bunn. Earlier this month, she was voted in as chief of Manitoba's Birdtail Sioux Dakota Nation, becoming the youngest person ever to hold the position. Joining us now is the newly minted Birdtail Sioux Dakota Nation chief, Tréchelle Bunn. Good morning, Tréchelle.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Congratulations. Oh my goodness. And you were up against another woman.
Yeah.
So either way, history was going to be made, but you won by a huge landslide. How are you feeling?
I think it's still very much setting in for me. I think the last, couple of weeks have been very surreal, and I think, it's truly the honor of my life to be in this role.
That is incredible. So what made you want to be representative, a chief in that First Nation?
Yeah, I think I always dreamt of, giving back to my community in that way and to be a leader and advocate for my own people. I didn't anticipate maybe being called upon so early, but, some community members and elders approached me and, asked if I would put my name forward. So I was kind of taught growing up that, when you're called upon, it's your time to answer that call. So I stepped up and put my name forward, and I think I'm still blown away from the amount of support that I received.
And what are young girls from the First Nation saying to you from the reserve?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing to, even throughout the campaign, connecting with the young people, and I think they have so much hope and so much vision for our future. So I think it really is breaking that glass ceiling, and I know, I may be the first, but I'm not going to be the last.
Yeah, okay, well, let's talk about, you have such a busy life. You were a professional hockey player, very much involved with hockey. Tell us about how that has sort of influenced your decision to run for chief.
Yeah, so I grew up playing hockey. I started skating in my backyard when I was just 3 years old, and then I played high school hockey in Warroad, Minnesota, then in Boston, Massachusetts, and then I did 2 years at the University of Calgary, and I finished my last 2 years of competitive hockey here at U of M. I think really it just showed me time management skills, being a student athlete and being on the go all the time. And it also taught me to, put my head down and go to work. So I think, I'm a fierce competitor, and I think I'm also a fierce leader. So I think those two really go hand in hand.
Incredible. You're also in the midst of law school right now.
Yeah.
And you just finished an exam just recently.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what is going to happen with that part of your life.
Yeah, so I'm in my second year of law school. I just officially wrote my last exam last Wednesday. So I have 1 year left, my third year, and I do plan to, very complete that as well. And I think, the law school has been super supportive of, me stepping into this new role. And I really think those two positions really go hand in hand as well. I think, very much law is about being a leader and an advocate for people. And I think, that's the same for being a chief. So I think those two really interconnect in a great way. And I'm excited to use my education to give back to my community.
Now, you grew up in Sprague. What is your connection to the First Nation?
Yeah, so my dad is a proud citizen of Birdtail Sioux First Nation, Dakota Nation. And I think, growing up, I spent my summers there with my grandparents and my cousins. So I've always been very connected to my community despite not growing up there. So it's a real honor that, they've seen me and they've chosen me as their leader.
That is incredible. You're a real role model for girls all across the country. What is the message that you want to convey to them?
Yeah, I think, I think it's so amazing to see, young leaders stepping in to these positions. And that's something I kind of advocated for when I was youth chief of the Southern Chiefs organization, that, as young people, we're not the leaders of tomorrow, we're the leaders of today, and that our voices belong in every space today. So I really hope that, other young people follow suit and know that their voices are so critical to all conversations, and everyone has the gift of leadership.
That is incredible. Now, what's your first item on your to-do list?
Yeah, that's a big one. I think, I've just been really trying to get into community, and I think transparency and accountability is kind of the mandate that I was elected on. So I think bringing back, community meetings and getting everyone involved in decision making, establishing an elders council so our elders can, help guide our decisions of chief and council. I think really just getting back to, the foundational and building up from there.
And what are some of the issues that you would like to tackle?
So I think, education. So we're going kind of a school division change here for our young people, and I'm a really passionate advocate for education. So I think just making sure that we're making new connections with the school board there, and making sure that our young people are, getting equipped to chase their dreams.
Any other messages you want to convey to young people watching this that are looking at you with their mouths open in awe of what you've accomplished?
Yeah, I think, something maybe I just said earlier, I may be the first, but I won't be the last. And I really hope this does have a ripple effect, across the province and across the country. And I hope that, young people can see themselves in me and know that if I can do it, so can they.
Oh my gosh, Tréchelle, thank you so much for being with us this morning, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what you're going to do in the next year or two. And you'll have to come back and give us an update.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to see you. Congratulations.